A big day in women's college basketball as conference play was really getting underway with a lot of good showdowns happening. Unfortunately, the story of the day is knee injuries, which could have a huge impact on the season going forward. Ashlin Watkins went down with South Carolina as well. Paige Bueckers versus Villanova. The Paige Bueckers one was just dumb. I'll go into that later, but that's just a ridiculous injury. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, so let's get into this. So actually there were 3 knee injuries that I'll get into. So first off, Ashlin Watkins, South Carolina, they were playing Mississippi State. She was going left, trying to make a layup, pushed off her left foot. You can see the knee sort of buckles as she's planting to go up. And she goes down, and straight away she was able to sit up, and the staff came out. She wasn't able to put weight on the leg going off. Obviously, what you would suspect is an ACL injury. They'll have to do an MRI to figure out what has been done. If it is an ACL, then obviously she would be gone for the year. Hopefully it's not, so fingers crossed. This, have no doubt, Sanaya Fagan is starting right now, but Ashlin Watkins is really the key to where they want to go, which is obviously winning a national championship. If you look at their best lineups, they all involve Ashlin Watkins being out of the court. Like their highest rated net rating, points per possession net, all the lineups have Ash Watkins, usually Ash Watkins and Joyce Edwards. Like they were really coming together as a 1-2 combo. So this is just really, really unfortunate. The other high-profile knee injury of the day is obviously Paige Bueckers. They were playing Villanova. It was a loose ball late in the third quarter. The Villanova player dove for the ball and took out Bueckers' knee, sort of rolled it under it. It didn't look good, as you saw sort of like a twisting action on Bueckers' knee. She was in obvious pain. She was able to put weight on it and walk off, and they checked her out in the locker room and came back and sat on the bench. Gino Auriemma in the post-game interview said he was optimistic that it wasn't anything serious and was really positive. I don't know. Wait till the MRI happens and gives the clearance. I think all UConn Nation will be very nervous until they get the MRI results back, unfortunately. Now, because everybody's frustrated about an injury, it always has to be the blame game. Some are going after the Villanova player for diving for the ball. Others are going after Gino Auriemma, saying she shouldn't have been in there late in the third quarter. He says he was about to replace her. For me, I don't blame either or. Injuries happen. With this one, I especially don't blame the player, Villanova. Yes, she dove for the ball, but it's not her fault. It's the rule, unfortunately. Like this whole problem could be solved with a simple rule change. If they change the rule to say, hey, if you take possession of the ball while you're on the floor, it's a travel or you lose possession, this would totally eliminate the diving for a loose ball. Now, I found this vision of John Calipari, like he was doing a coaching seminar, and he had a session where he was teaching players how to take a charge, which is ridiculous in itself. It just leads to more flopping. But the other one was how to dive for a ball. And essentially, he was telling players, dive for the ball and roll on your back. And the diving for the loose ball is often celebrated. Oh, what hustle. Like they play the result. If somebody gets taken off, like Deladova took out LeBron, that was looked at as a dirty play. But if nobody gets hurt and Deladova grabs the ball and is able to pass it out to a teammate, then oh my God, Deladova, he dives on the floor. He does that gritty stuff that teams love, and we need that. And that's essentially where these players are in the hole. You're allowed to dive to the floor, so they're going to dive, obviously, to get the ball, damn be the consequences. I mean, it was the same way in the NFL. Years and years, everybody knew the 49ers were doing cut blocks because they found it efficient to use small offensive linemen. And the NFL had to ban it. And that's why the cut block in the NFL has been eliminated. It would be the same thing, just a simple rule modification. If you're on the floor with the ball, it is simply a turnover. If you look in the game, Utah, like this injury wasn't talked about much, but the Utah versus Iowa State game, first of all, Neepkins, who had a bad foot injury last year, she had a big scare as she went up for a mid-range jumper and came down on somebody's foot, and straight away she was holding her knee and thought she did her ACL. I mean, it must have been, you can see her dad putting her hands over his mouth going, oh my God, I can't believe she's had another bad injury. Fortunately, she was able to come back a few minutes later in the game and play the rest of the game. However, you could have made the case on her injury that the player put their foot under her foot and it was a dangerous play. I don't like that rule so much, but I understand it and I'm supportive of it. And it's much the same way. If you're willing to put that rule in, because a lot of times the shooter will kick their foot out or won't come down in the exact zone that they took off in. So that rule is more speculative in my opinion, but they put it in there because all the players are rolling ankles and getting injured. So if you're willing to put that rule in there, I don't see why basketball can't put the rule simply, hey, you can't go leaving your feet, diving to the floor, damn be the consequences, and take out anybody's knee. That's why I'm saying it needs to be ingrained in players. If you go to the floor with the ball, then it's a turnover. It's that simple. They do this like in rugby union. If you leave your feet to clear out a ruck, then it's an automatic penalty. Don't leave your feet. It's just that simple of a rule. And the coaches want to maintain possession. So the rule to the players would be, hey, make sure you keep your feet when you're trying to get possession of the ball, because there's no point for you to go to the floor, because even if you get the ball, our team will lose it straight away. Now, as I mentioned, there was a third knee injury, and that was for Utah. Neepkins dodged a bullet, but unfortunately at the very end of the game when they're trying to throw the ball in, Kennedy McQueen got taken out or got tangled with the Iowa State player and bent over her knee backwards. Like it looked like a wide receiver getting taken up high and sort of falls back on her leg. And she had to be taken off the court with assistance. And it'll be the same thing with her. Like she's in the Watkins, Paige Bueckers camp waiting for the results of an MRI probably to see hopefully that there's no ACL damage. I will do a video in the next few days talking about the different games that took place because a lot of good games happened today, but I think this is a bigger impact. Last year, one of the biggest moments during the regular season was the Grand Cayman tournament where Samaya Smith went down with her knee injury, as that totally changed the look at LSU because once any game Angel Reese got in foul trouble, they were basically done. If McQueen is out, then Utah really doesn't have the depth to manage that injury. It's much like when they lost last year, Neepkins. Just having Peely alone was not enough. And in Utah, like they'd had some good victories, and I was curious to see if they could win the Big 12. So hopefully this is a sprain and she will be back, but it did not look good. With South Carolina, like fortunately for them, they have depth. They have a lot of bigs. But again, Ashlin Watkins is their best big. Even though she does not start, their best lineups are with Ashlin Watkins in there. With Paige Bueckers, the fate of their season will ultimately be decided by an MRI in the next 24 to 48 hours. By the way, the injury is to her left knee. That's the knee that had the tibial plateau fracture versus Notre Dame her sophomore year, and then during that offseason that year, she injured her left knee, or the ACL rupture, when scrimmaging with her teammates in the offseason. So now it's over to you. Do you agree with me that if you go to the ground and grab the ball, it should just be an automatic travel? Do you think you should have 2 feet on the ground, or at least 1 foot on the ground if you have possession of the ball to avoid a travel call? Or am I too soft and is diving for the ball an essential part of the game so we can have hustle plays and announcers celebrate what amazing hustle it is for them to dive on the ground? Let me know your thoughts, your poison. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.